Well, plenty of attention on who's going where in the AFL, and Fremantle have been front and centre, and in particular this man, our next guest on Scott and Goss for Fleet Network. We're talking of David Walls, who we go by the trademark Fremantle Dockers list manager.
Or I would say national recruiting manager.
Yeah, but according to some heavyweights down Fremantle way, he has got the title of Head of Player Personnel.
Yeah, that sounds important.
David Walls, good morning.
Morning, Tim. Morning, Scott. Thanks for having me. Yeah, bit of a tongue twister, but that's the title.
Well, you sound important, mate, so we're going to give you all the respect in the world. On air and then off air we'll do it normally.
Let's get our teeth into some of the big names, and of course there's so much attention around Fremantle. One, about the player you want to get in Luke Jackson, and two, the player that people want to get out, but you want to keep him in, and that is Rory Lobb. First of all, Jackson, where are you at with Luke Jackson and the constant shifting of players and names and West Coast, of course, and picks? What's going on down there?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Like, we're constantly meeting with Tim Lamb from Melbourne. Even yesterday, like, we would have had 6 or 7 conversations, throwing things around, different scenarios. Obviously, before he did that deal with Port Adelaide in the afternoon, he was trying to get something through. So, yeah, look, we'd love to bring Luke in. We've got a fair bit on the table at the moment for him, but just working through exactly what that looks like.
Well, talk us through that, right? Because we hear what the deals are done and all that sort of thing. We don't know how they get done, how the conversations are had. You've just said you've had 6 or 7 conversations with him yesterday. Is it a matter of you walk up and go, "Hey, Tim, how about this and this?" And they say, "No, it's not going to get done," and you walk away? And is it just a constant, line of communication and different sort of offers that you put to them? Does it last 20 seconds? Does it conversation last 10 minutes?
No, that's right. Look, a whole difference. Like, day one, we need to be in an AFL house, and each club's got a suite, and you're in and out. And like you said, some take 5-10 minutes. Sometimes you're in and out within a minute. But after day one of the trade period opens, it's basically on the phones, and you might meet up at a cafe here or there, but it's more so on the phones. And look, some of those conversations yesterday did go for 30 seconds. At other times you sit down, you're back and forwards, and a lot of the work gets done before the start of trade period, and that's when you're really sitting down for an hour or two and just looking at the entire list. What are you trying to achieve? And they've got an idea of what we're trying to achieve, and then can you bring another club in that may assist in helping do a 3-way deal that can please everyone.
David Walls, Head of Player Personnel from the Fremantle Football Club, List Manager, National Recruiting Manager. I don't even know. You can take all 3 titles, Woolsey. We're happy with that. So just in regards to why wouldn't Tim Lamb and Melbourne just turn around and say, this is what will get it done?
Well, basically, I think because they can say that, but the issue, and the big difference with players is being in contract and then being out of contract. So the fact that he's out of contract, they can set the price, but also if no one's prepared to pay it, the player can go to the pre-season draft and you get nothing. So you've got to be a little bit careful with players that are out of contract. And then also with West Coast and with us, it's basically put your best foot forward. What are you prepared to offer? And then Melbourne are going to need to accept that in the end. But it's a two-horse race. With the third option being for Melbourne, the pre-season draft, which would be a disaster for them.
It would be. So when Luke told Melbourne he just wanted to go back to WA, was that just doing Melbourne a favour? Because everyone says, no, he doesn't want to go to West Coast. It's locked in. He's going to go to Freo. And all he was doing the right thing by Melbourne. Or Melbourne may have said to him, mate, just say you're going back to WA because that just helps us out, and that helps West Coast posture a position.
I think you need that. We had that situation with Adam Cerra last year as well when he's going back to Victoria as a uncontracted player, that you need to have some goodwill with the player as well so that, you say we need to be looked after. We've invested heavily in you. Just make sure that we don't get burnt on the way out. So Adam was very good in that regard, and there were multiple clubs that were interested in him and were able to get pick 6. But that's basically the gist of it, is that you can't say you're going home and then making it a one-horse race either, particularly when the club's looked after you.
Like Jason Horne-Francis. Anyway, leave that one aside just for a second. But you know what? It's a sign of of a good character, Wolsey, isn't it, when the player wants to make sure the club gets looked after. I remember Fraser Gehrig doing it back in 2000 when Collingwood could have got him for nothing. He wanted to go home, and he said, no, you need to pay for me somehow. You need to give West Coast some players who went to St Kilda who were prepared to do a deal. But are you aware or have any understanding what West Coast are prepared to offer Melbourne for Luke Jackson?
No, look, basically what I've seen reported, but I don't know the specifics or how their conversations have gone. So I don't know exactly, no.
You got any insight in why players seem to want out of Freo at the moment, Wolsey? Is it purely contractual? We know reports that Blake Acres, we knew this earlier, but he confirmed it yesterday, saying that he was lowballed. His contract was ordinary. Is that why they want out? Because it seems like a pretty good place to be at the moment.
Yeah. I think like a range of issues. I think one or two are contracts where they've been able to get longer term security elsewhere and more money than we were prepared to match. So like in Blake's situation, we could have really upped our offer and matched it and retained Blake, but we're really mindful of TPP and salary cap management as well, and the value of that. That's becoming bigger and bigger in the AFL. That you see salary dumps, and like you can even see this year, pick sevens on the table and can be bought this year. So for us, we're looking at Blake. Would have liked to have kept him, but it was at a price. We feel like we've got 3 or 4 players on our list that can come in and play that wing role, and it'll give opportunity to them and develop, but it also keeps our salary cap really healthy for future years, because I think we're the second youngest list in the comp, and majority of these guys are getting better and asking for more money, rightfully so. So we need to just make sure that we're in a position so that we can maintain or I guess our premiership core players. That sort of goes back. I think there were 1 or 2 that were the contract, and I think there's 1 or 2 that are just opportunity that obviously with the side going a little bit better, feel like they're AFL players and ready to go and in the primes of their career, and just desperate to play, and feel like they might be able to get opportunity elsewhere. And then obviously Rory, his name obviously come up last year wanting to head towards Sydney, but this year it's more like a personal situation that's changed for him and feels he needs to be in Melbourne.
I was going to ask you about Lloyd Meek. I'll put that on ice just for a brief moment because, Scott, you just mentioned 2 words, Rory Lobb, and I think I might leave the studio because it seems to get my co-host rather riled up. Scott, come off the long run. Over to you and David Walls from Fremantle.
Well, Wolsey, you know me well. We're old neighbours. We can speak very openly, probably differently than we would on this forum. But I don't understand the desire, there's such a strong desire to keep Rory Lobb at 2. I know he's a big man at 206 centimetres. I would have loved to have been built like him, but 36 goals in an attacking side as a key forward is not a big return. And the bloke wants to be out of the football club. He wants out for 2 years now. He's wanted out. Are you just playing hardball and saying we need something apart from Bond and Norts that you said the other day? Is it just a matter of, Bulldogs need to give us something really special, or you desperately want him to stay at the club?
We desperately want Rory to stay. So our tall forwards have been, I guess, the Achilles heel of the club for a long time since Pav left. Guys that are 207 centimetres, kick 2 goals a game, he's high for contested marks, and then can go into the ruck. You just can't find them. And with our list profile too, like our 2 tall forwards are both Rory, who's going to be 30 next year, and Matt Taberner as well, who's also going to be 30, and he's had injury challenges the last few years. After that, on our list, we've got really, really high hopes for Jai Amos, who I think saw in the finals coming back from his kidney injury. Basically no prep to do what he did was outstanding. We think he's going to be a really, really good player. And Josh Tracy,
like him.
Yeah, Josh Tracy's the other one that we think can also come through. He's still only 20 this year. Had a really good first year, but we think another big summer he'll be able to play for us. So we see our future with Josh and Jai as our key forwards, tall forwards. Also a few other options to go down there, but I just think we really need Rory up and going right at this stage to protect those guys, because we can't basically hand over to two teenagers and say you're in charge of our forward line and expect them to be kicking 35, 40 goals a year when they're still first and second years of their career.
Yeah, okay, I'll accept that.
He's no chance of playing at Fremantle.
Who?
No, next year, Rory Lobb. He's no chance of playing at Fremantle next year. David, get
no
it
chance.
done, mate. No chance.
No chance. What would you get it done for, Tim?
Just let him go, mate. He don't want to be there.
He's a professional.
I know what I know what he brings. I heard what you said, but he just doesn't want to be there, David.
Have the Dogs offered you anything at Wolsey? Have they said to you, yep, we want him and we're prepared to give you this? And you've obviously knocked it back, or have you not even entertained the conversation?
We've had a conversation, but it's been around. They've got a pick this year, their second round pick. It's moving pretty much by the day with your compensation picks and free agency jumping in. So I think it's sitting at about pick 30, 31 at the moment.
But if he wants to go, not home, but if he wants to go for personal reasons to be with his partner based in Melbourne, what's the difference between a young boy wanting to go home, Junior Rioli wants to go back to Adelaide, Jason Horne-Francis, whatever you want to complicate it with, wants to go back to Adelaide and Port Adelaide in particular. What's the difference between Rory saying, look, I want to go to Melbourne to be with my partner and my in-laws? What's the difference?
It came last year where he wanted to go to Sydney. No offer actually came last year, so he came back, ended up having the best season of his career. So, look, we're saying we can work with him. The guys get so much time off these days that basically you can have 3 months off. Pre-season doesn't start until after Christmas. We play in Melbourne 7 or 8 times a year, so we can work with Rory. But yeah, at this stage, like I said, with our list profile, and how our forward line's structured and the young guys we've got coming through, we really need him. It's exactly why the Dogs are looking to get him in too, because they feel they need protection, I guess, for Jamara, who really improved the second half of the year, and Sam Darcy as well, just to take the heat off kids. You can't expect to be really up there and challenging when you've got teenagers as your key forwards.
You're hearing me, Goss? Finally, someone's talking my language. You need key forwards to be successful, and they're the ones that win your games of footy. I did love the fact, Wolsey, too, that you said pre-season doesn't start till after Christmas.
You're making a comeback.
Yeah, I wish. Hey, back to Goss's question. Can we talk about Lloyd Meek?
Yeah, look, I know he's got 1 year to run at Fremantle, and the mail is he wants to get to Hawthorn. West Coast are keen on him. It doesn't seem as though West Coast and Fremantle are keen to deal. What's the situation with him? Are you trying to get a job done for him to get to Hawthorn or wherever he wants to go, or are you desperate to keep him?
Yeah, we love Meekie. I think it's been a great partnership between him and the club. He's worked his backside off since he came in, but he's been developed hugely to the point where he can now be an AFL ruck. Aaron Sandler has done an awesome job with him since day one. So we desperately want to keep Meekie and don't want him to go, but he's desperate for opportunity and wants to play. We've sat down with him and mapped out how we can see more opportunity for him and also how we'd create opportunity for him to play. But out of respect for him, it's Hawthorn is the club that's expressed interest. So we've had a couple of conversations, but they haven't gone very far and really haven't offered anything at this stage. So we'd love to have him back and play him, but we will listen to Hawthorn.
All right, last one for you. Anthony McDonald-Tipungwudi's name has been mentioned about returning to the AFL system. Essendon have now, we're led to believe this morning, have put in a request that they think they should get first dibs at him if he comes back. But then someone else said, well, you got D'Ambrosio because that's how you got him on your list after he retired, so you can't have your cake and eat it too. Do you think you can get him? And what's the bottom line at Fremantle? Is he just going to do a pre-season and if he trains on and looks good, then you might find a spot?
Yeah, my understanding is because he retired, he won't be eligible for the national or the pre-season rookie drafts this year. But should he get through the draft, or basically as a retired player, he's been through one draft. He then becomes eligible for an SSP train-on situation, which then means he could be put on as a top-up in March or eligible for the mid-season draft. So basically, get through the draft, and then if he was prepared to, he's got family in WA at the moment. If he was prepared to come over and train and get himself fit, we could then look to put him on as an SSP player if we leave a spot open in this year's draft.
Mate, really appreciate your time, Walls. It's always good to talk to you, and we've hit you with just some hard, honest ones, and you've seen them beautifully.
Yeah, the paperwork gets done today with Logue and Tucker.
Tucker, yep, that's right. We'll get that lodged with the AFL. Brady will put that in, and we'll get that signed off pretty early this morning.
How's the old neighbourhood, mate, and some of the hospitality venues? Are they coping?
No, they're not. The area's just not the same since you left. Local footy club is a little bit quieter, and Hardyman's Hotel, definitely feeling the pinch. It's not the same as walking in and seeing you doing match committee on a Thursday night at about 11:30.
Good to talk to you, mate. Look forward to running into you again and having a chat. Thanks very much for your time, Wolsey.
Brilliant. Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Scotty.